So we're talking about life dollars, which you cannot use to get into Disneyland, by the way.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah,
No,
right,
yeah.
right. We have to work at it.
You know, maybe I could do a horseback ride for life dollars. I could probably do something like that.
Well, when you're on Fourth Corner Exchange, at least some of it has to be in life dollars. So you can, divvy it up and say, half of it in U.S. dollars, half in life dollars. But at least part of it has to be in life dollars.
And that's the thing that I found when I started learning a little bit more about this, that it kind of got into my head was, this doesn't mean that you go off the grid and you do everything life dollars. It's kind of more of a, how do you take your dependency on certain things and kind of spread that out a little bit, diversify yourself a little bit. So if you go to the grocery store and you buy soap and you buy vegetables or you buy things like that at the grocery store, if you can buy some of those things using life dollars, then you're actually going to theoretically have more money for which to pay down your debt and dollar-wise, and you're diversifying yourself a little bit. So in case that there's fluctuations in the dollar or interest rates or you lose a job or something like that, you still have a monetary system here on the side that will help, maybe just enough for you to get by.
Right. Francis gives an example of a woman on a fixed income in Bellingham that I would, half of her income, or she expanded by 50% by going into life dollars. And so she, and in the initial meeting, first you go through kind of a training, because you have to, wrap your head around, how does this work? It's very different. But at the first initial meeting, she raised her hand and said, I'm 90 years old. I don't really have anything to offer. And he said, well, just what kind of things have you done? And she started listing, she's been around 90 years. She's got lots of experience, and she loves to talk to people. She crochets. She just started listing all these things. And then he turned to the rest of the group and said, does anyone, want any of that? And all the hands went up.
Wow.
Yeah, sure. So she ended up answering the phones for Fourth Corner Exchange. And that was her, that was her job. I don't know how much of it was on life dollars. But he also tells a story of a man who made it a point to try and do everything on life dollars. So, and people have bought cars. In England, they'd actually purchased a house. One couple did. The way it's set up is you have a limit as to how much, they call it commitment, not debt, because you're going to pay it back with your life dollars. How far you can go, up to 100 life dollars. And you can't hoard money either, so you have to spend it.
That's the whole point, and that's interesting because it goes back in history, and that's kind of what life dollars is founded upon, is looking at the currency infrastructures back in history that were successful, and that's, you can't hoard a whole truckload of carrots because it's going to rot. You need to consume and you need to use. And I think we have, again, this intrinsic, we're told from a very early age, go put your money in a bank and save your money and
it'll get worth more, which, we think that we're putting money in a bank and it's going to be worth more, and we're making how much percent on interest and how much is inflation, and is it going to be worth any money, by the time we retire? So this is a very different way of thinking.
It's not about consuming, it's about being productive. And that's what it's really focused on, is to be as productive as possible and use those dollars and keep the system going.
Right. Well, and it's producing, and it's also taking what you need, so it's depending upon your community to help support you, in addition to supporting your community. So it's a very unique kind of way of looking at things.
And our listeners certainly hear a lot about the Snoqualmie Valley, but this life dollars, there's a lot of areas, not only in Bellingham, but there's a lot of areas here in the Pacific Northwest that you can use your life dollars. So if I wanted to go to Bellingham on a trip, or if I wanted to go someplace else, I still have that currency.
Right. Port Townsend has a really active group. I think Olympia, the North Seattle has a group. Everett has people. So when you go on, you get access to all those people. But obviously the more that get involved in it, the more the more opportunities you have.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the larger the pool, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to talk today, because we're looking in the valley
Yes,
on how
please
to expand.
join.
Yes, I mean, think about yourself. If you're
Yeah.
out there and you're a fitness coach, or you're a massage person, or you have a value or service or something. I mean, or you live in a really stinking big house and you've got a lot of stuff. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of things and a lot
Or
of
if
ways
you have
that
a
we can
room
help
you
each
want to
other.
rent, or you have,
Yeah.
a house. In fact, there's a man who's joined who's in Sweden, who has offered, come stay with me for $5 because he
Really?
just loved the idea so much. Even though he's the only one in Sweden on this system at this time, he just thought it was the greatest idea.
So if you're going to Sweden,
you got a friend.
you got a friend in Sweden for $5. I
Right.
love that. So I mean, there's not a chapter here in the Bellevue area that we're aware of, right?
Right, not that
Okay.
I know of. But I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, it took me quite a while to just wrap my head around.
Right.
How is it? What does it work? Or how does it work? And now I'm sold, but I have yet myself to make a trade because even though I've put a few things up there, I'm like, well, it's just a matter of trying something new.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we can get more people interested. Again, it's only $25. I mean, obviously you don't get any of that. That's just it. There's no administration. That's just to purchase the $5.
Right, just to join. You do get a and I forget how much it is, but you do get a certain amount of $5 for joining.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of starts the ball rolling.
Yeah, and so you can start trading that way. Well, that's awesome. So how does somebody learn more about this or start a chapter or what have you?
Well, first I would recommend going to the site, to the fourthcornerexchange.com. Francis Ailey has, you have all of the, choices for, learning anything you want to know. But he also has videos, the Money as Debt, which is a really good education about.
Was that the one we saw?
We saw Money as Debt too.
Yeah,
there's a Money as Debt one also that are both very good. The Money Fix is also up there. That's also another excellent video. But there's also 30 minutes of him on a radio show like this, so you also get his conversation, and so you can learn quite a bit about it that way.
Well, if anyone out there has had any experience with this, or even I would love to hear from my financial people. To say, to tell me what they think about this. You can always call us at 425-373-5527. Again, 425-373-5527. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back, and we've got our last. Can you believe how fast this goes?
It's been fun.
Amazing. Oh, good. I'm so glad that you're here. You're great. You're listening to Walk the Talk with Kim on Alternative Talk, KKNW AM 1150.